Buenos días, bienvenidos a todos y todas. The translation is on. Yes, ok, vale. Vamos a dar comienzo al webinar titulado al webinar en el marco del proyecto RETO, que es un proyecto financiado por el programa Ciudadanos, Equidad, Derechos y Valores de la Comisión Europea, cuyo objetivo principal es reforzar la capacidad de las autoridades locales europeas para gestionar la diversidad religiosa de forma democrática, inclusiva, pluralista e integradora, mediante la creación de una red de municipios europeos para compartir metodologías y buenas prácticas en materia de gobernanza de la diversidad religiosa. Mm, Just a kind reminder that you can follow with the webinar in English if you click in the symbol of interpretation below on the right. You have to choose English, okay? I am going to continue in Spanish and then the first roundtable will be in English. Decía que para seguir el webinar en el idioma elegido, bueno, pues que tenéis que pinchar en el icono de abajo, en el idioma que queráis. Yo voy a hablar ahora mismo en castellano, voy a dar la presentación y la primera mesa va a ser en inglés, íntegramente en inglés, para aquellos que vais a seguir en castellano, ¿vale? Como decía, este webinar se ha organizado en el marco del proyecto RETO, Religious and Tolerance, ¿no? Y vamos a presentar los resultados de un análisis comparativo de experiencias, iniciativas y prácticas de ciudades europeas en la gestión religiosa de la diversidad y la tolerancia. El seminario se ha estructurado en dos mesas dinámicas, o más o menos dinámicas, ¿no? Y en la primera lo que vamos a realizar es una presentación de los resultados de los estudios llevados a cabo en diferentes países europeos y en concreto, en diferentes ciudades. En la segunda mesa lo que vamos a hacer es, vamos a presentar algunas de las experiencias o iniciativas que hemos considerado más interesantes o bueno, o que por lo menos tienen elementos de interés para, bueno, pues para cualquier otra ciudad europea en materia de la gestión de la diversidad religiosa. Como ya he indicado la parte técnica de las nurialores múltiples que aparecéis, ¿no? De cambiar el nombre. La otra cuestión que queda es, bueno, que cualquier pregunta o duda que tengáis o dificultad, que por favor la transmitáis a través del chat a la persona que aparece primera en el orden, en la parte de participantes, en concreto la cabeza de Religions and Tolerance Reto, el anfitrión, the host. Y entonces ahí podéis trasladar preguntas, dudas, porque no vamos a abrir en sí un espacio para preguntas o dudas, pero sí vamos a intentar recoger todas las cuestiones que surjan y enlazarlo de alguna manera de una mesa a la otra. Y en cualquier caso, si no, bueno, pues para el futuro. Al final ya indicaré que tenemos más actividades que vamos a realizar a lo largo de este año y del próximo en el marco del proyecto. Y bueno, yo creo que sin más, ya que hemos empezado un poquito más tarde, voy a dar la palabra, voy a dar paso a la primera mesa. En la primera mesa, como decía, se van a presentar los resultados de del estudio comparativo que hemos hecho en el marco del proyecto y para ello contamos con tres personas. En primer lugar, intervendrá Alessandro Negri de la Universidad degli Studi de Milano y que fundamentalmente va a abordar cuestiones relacionadas de manera comparativa o del análisis que se ha hecho en los diferentes países que hemos estudiado, ¿no? Por la relevancia de la libertad religiosa, ¿no? Y las implicaciones que este derecho fundamental, este derecho humano tiene o cómo se concreta en el ordenamiento jurídico de los países de una visión conjunta. En segundo lugar, intervendrá Julia Martínez Ariño, de la Rijksuniversiteit de Groningen, de Países Bajos, que abordará la misma cuestión, bueno, la cuestión de la diversidad religiosa en Europa desde una perspectiva más sociológica, destacando un poquito elementos comunes, elementos diferenciadores de lo que hemos podido ver en los informes. Y por último, contamos con Sofía Caseiro, de la Universidad de Coimbra en Portugal, ¿no? Que abordará la cuestión de la gestión pública de la diversidad religiosa a nivel local. Perdón. ¿Cómo se gestiona esto por parte de las autoridades locales y qué implicaciones tiene? Esto nos va a llevar más o menos hasta las 10:10 o 10:15, porque hemos empezado con un poquito más de retraso y luego daremos paso a la segunda mesa. Entonces, sin más, Alessandro, si te parece, puedes comenzar tú con tu presentación. Muchas gracias a los tres por haber aceptado participar en este webinar.
Thanks, Professor. Good morning, everybody. I will try to share my presentation and let me know if you see it.
It's on the way. Yes.
Okay.
No.
You see it?
Yes, perfect. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. Just to try. Okay, perfect. So, good morning, everybody, and thank you for being here. And thank you, Professor Arrutia, for inviting me and for the introduction. I will try, I promise, to be brief, but I will try to present the results of this study that Professor was mentioning before from a legal perspective, trying to highlight the similar points and the discrepancies that this study gave light. Because, just a little spoiler, we will have a different landscape, a different overview of religious freedom and its guarantees throughout Europe. Just the first slide, the first map, is quite easy because we have here the list of the 15 countries that are part of the study. We see in alphabetical order from Austria to Sweden, but we'll see in about 15 countries, so about the half of the whole number of the European states that are member of the EU, 15 out of 27, so almost half. And we see that this study is conducted representing also different zones of Europe, so the northern part with Sweden, Finland, and Lithuania, the Mediterranean area, Spain, Portugal, Malta, Italy, Greece, also the center part with Germany, Poland, Netherlands, and so on. And why this map is quite easy, because this map highlights in blue the 15 countries that are part of this study, and we see that all these 15 countries are part not only of the European Union, but also of the system of the European Convention of Human Rights. And so in their system, Article 9 of ECHR guarantees explicitly freedom of belief and freedom of religion and freedom of conscience. We have the same provision for these 15 countries. But not just this, because every country of this list, in its own constitution, has the guarantee of religious freedom. Some of them has laws, not constitutional level, but laws that are of constitutional rank. So the situation is the same. And so we have the guarantee of religious freedom at a most important level that their legal system can offer. That's a common point, a common basis that we have to keep in mind when we analyze the reports of our national experts. But this common basis that can seem quite simple becomes more complicated when we try to enter more deeply in the system of the religious freedom guarantee. Actually, in this map, we have blue countries, red countries, and green countries. And why that? Because the blue countries are countries that we've seen before, so countries that guarantee religious freedom from a constitutional level with the ECHR and just this. So these countries have not any other general laws about religious freedom. They have maybe sometimes a specific laws about specific aspects of religious freedom. I don't know, places of worship, or I don't know, financing religious freedom, religious communities, but not a general law about religious freedom. And what's the consequence? The consequence is that, for example, in my system, the Italian system, the one that I obviously know best, our guarantee is from a constitution that was born in 1948. So we have 75-year-old text that guarantees for religious freedom and nothing more up to date. And so we understand the problems that some of these cases may arise. For example, in our system, we do not have a specific provision for freedom of conscience, but the Constitutional Court, reading the articles and so on, understood that also that type of freedom is inscribed in religious freedom. In Europe, as we see from the map, we have some other situations. For example, in red, we have Sweden, we have Lithuania, we have Austria, Greece, for example. They have general laws on religious communities. So general laws on the legal status of religious communities that guarantees religious freedom on a collective level. And we have something more different with green countries like Spain, Portugal, Poland, and so on. They have general laws on religious freedom. For example, you obviously know La Ley Orgánica in Spain of 1980. So a general laws that guarantees religious freedom also at an individual level. So we have one more layer of guarantee, one more layer of protection, not just the Constitution, but also general laws. So more up to date, and also we have to say more easy to change, because it's not a constitutional level that sometimes is so strict and so hard to modify. Coming to, I promise, the last map. With the last map, we have another type of differences, even more specificities. And the differences are between the states that have agreements with religious communities and some other countries who have not. Italy, Spain, and so on, the blue countries in that case, have some concordats, some general concordats with the Catholic Church and with other denominations. For example, in Italy, we have 14 agreements more than the one with the Catholic Church. Or in Spain, you have agreements with Jewish community and Muslim community. Or in some other countries that I painted in blue, we do not have specific agreements, but we have laws that some religious communities have to draft about some religious communities. So a sort of bilateral system. We have a specific case of Lithuania in green, with multiple specific agreements, but just with one denomination, a Catholic Church, the Catholic Church. And we have other countries, the slightly pink ones, Ireland, France, and so on, that did not know any bilateral agreements with religious denomination. And it's curious to see that this system is shared, for example, by the Catholic Ireland, the traditional Catholic Ireland, and traditional laïc secular France. So different systems, different cultures, different legal protection that may cause some difficulties for us to understand a common framework. The common framework is surely the Article 9 of the European Convention of the Human Rights that was replied by Article 10 of the Charter of EU Fundamental Rights. But, and I come to a conclusion, when we try to analyze this topic from a legal perspective, we have always to take in mind Article 17 on the TFEU, a treaty about the European Union, that says explicitly that the Union respects and does not prejudice the status under national law of churches and religious associations or communities in the member states. What does it mean? It means that member states of the European Union have explicitly decided to not give up sovereignty in this field, because the relationship with the religious factor, with the religious community, is part of national identity. And from this point of view, is explicitly written in the treaties that we could not have a whole system, the unique system of legal respect and status of religious communities. We can have a legal common basis of protection of religious freedom. That is inscribed in Article 9 of the European Convention of the Human Rights, but nothing more. That's a pity, sometimes that's a shame, we can say that, but it's part of the decision that we as member states of the European Union have done in the last decades. I think that maybe my time is over. Professor, tell me if I'm too late. In that case, I leave the floor Obviously, I will share the slides, and if you can have some time more to explore them and some questions, I will be happy to answer. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Muchas gracias, Alessandro, por la presentación. I would ask you now to, yeah, okay. Now is the turn of Julia.
Yes, can you hear me well?
Yes, perfect. Thank you.
Right.
And we can see the presentation.
Perfect. Well, good morning, everyone. Buenos días a todo el mundo. Thank you so much for being here and take part in our webinar. As Gorka mentioned before, I will give a very brief overview of some of the main trends when it comes to religious diversity in the European context, but please bear with me. This is a very a simplified version of the current situation. And of course, each country has its own specificities, but I will try to give an overview of what we found in the project and what research has shown so far. So there are several big trends that we find across European countries. First of all, despite the secularization of most European countries, Christianity is still the majority religion throughout these countries. So even if it's not a Christianity that is practiced on a regular basis, still in the majority of countries, the majority of the population identify as Christian. However, we also see that throughout the continent, the number of those who define themselves as Christians declines. And this is happening at different rhythms. In some countries, the decline is very sharp. In other countries, this is a more, let's say, a softer process, a more progressive process. Another important transformation, especially in the last couple of decades, is the increase in the number of people who identify as non-religious. And of course, as sociologists, we always question what that means. But a significant change is that choosing the category of non-religion or non-religious is becoming more and more popular among European populations. And of course, here we would have to see how this applies to different age groups or people with different religious backgrounds, different levels of education. Of course, there are stratifications in this regard, but overall, the non-religious people are becoming a more relevant part of the population. And then religious minorities overall remain minorities, as could be expected. Some of them increase in their numbers, others remain rather small. But what we see is that more and more their presence is becoming normalized. And of course, it has to do with the fact that these are not so new anymore, but have been in European territory for some years. Some of them, others have been here, of course, for centuries, and they are not new religions. I just wanted to show you two examples of different configurations of this religious diversity across different countries, which show, in any case, very similar patterns. And the configurations, of course, are different because each country has a different religious history. But overall, the patterns are quite similar. So I've chosen two very dissimilar countries in a way, Finland and Spain. And what you see in both cases is that Christianity, whether it is evangelical, Lutheran in the case of Finland, or Catholicism, are the big majority of the population, around 60%, 50%, some countries is 70 or even 80%. But overall, we see that 2/3 of the population identify as Christian. And then in many countries in Europe, the second group when it comes to religious identification is the non-religious group. So you see that in Finland, this reaches almost 34% of the population, especially among the youth. And in Spain, this is almost 29%. So almost about 1/3 of the population in several countries identifies as non-religious. And again, here, age is an important factor that shapes this identification, but there are other variables, other identities that also make this look different. And then we have some minorities. In some context, maybe the Muslim minority is bigger because of the colonial past. In other countries, it might be that there is a Protestant minority that is significantly bigger. But overall, the minorities, as I said before, remain rather small groups of the whole population. And just to conclude, what are some of the factors that help us explain the different configurations of religious diversity, but also the similarities? Well, on the first place, of course, the different religious histories of each country. Some countries historically have Catholic majorities, others have had historically Protestant majorities, and this is something that is still reflected in today's composition of the population. Something that is also relevant to take into account is that countries also have different colonial histories. And this is important because the colonial past of a country also shapes the current migration patterns. So those countries that have had a colonial past tend to receive more migrants from those former colonies, and that also shapes the type and the quantity of religious diversity in a population. Current migratory patterns related, as I said, to the colonial past, but also related to the current context of conflict, global inequality, etc., also shape the way in which diversity manifests itself in European countries and in specific urban contexts, sorry. And of course, how all this plays out is connected to the way in which the majority religion and the state relate in the different countries. So we have very different configurations in the Netherlands than in Sweden, for example. In some countries, specifically the Nordic countries, for many decades or centuries, there have been official state churches, like the Church of Norway, the Church of Sweden, etc. In other countries, such official state church has not existed over the last couple of centuries. So this also shapes how religious diversity looks like, and also, and I make this connection to the next speaker, to Sofia, how this diversity is being governed at the national, but also at the local level. So I stop here. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Julia. Muchas gracias. Y ahora vamos a dar paso a la tercera ponente, Sofía Caseiro. When you wish. Okay, we see perfectly the presentation.
Yes.
And
Thank you.
Okay.
Yes. I was looking for my microphone. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here and for inviting me to speak with you about. So I'm just the messenger here, transmitting all of what we found in the collective effort on the comparative research we've done, as mentioned by Alessandro and Julia, in 15 countries. And this is what I brought was some reflections on general common ground that we can find in all of those 15 countries, and also here some questions for reflection that we can think about at the end. So one of the things that we understood, even by Alexandro's presentation, is that we have a protection on a fundamental level. So religious freedom is protected on a fundamental level, which means that as we go through the governance hierarchy, that's very different and very diverse in the several countries we have in Europe, in these 15 countries, we can understand that they are going to have in the local authorities, in the local so the smaller piece of governance organs or bodies, that we are going to have different competences, different types of powers or authority in relation to this topic. And what we find is a limited formal authority, but a need to understand that the local authorities are in fact the ones that are more that are closer to the communities. So the day-to-day governance is very important in the religious diversity policies, but they are not in the competence, or they are not in the authority of these local of these local bodies. So there is here an imbalance, I think we can say that, in between the need to develop more policies or more initiatives regarding religious diversity and the power to do so, and the resources. A lot of time it's the resources in time, people, money, and so there is an imbalance here on the needs and the proximity and on what can actually be done. And a lot of these religious diversity initiatives that are being presented in the next panel are not that abundant, are not probably a priority in the day-to-day. And I brought some questions at the end, so we can all think about together on how why is this happening. The common ground here is that this day-to-day governance is and what falls into the authority of the local governance bodies falls into these diverse categories of determining what are the places of worship, what authorizations and what licenses are needed for religious communities, if it's easier, if it's not that easy in the diverse regulations that exist, if the local authorities in several countries, for example, local authorities have the possibility to determine what is and what is not a religious activity. A religious activity can be a different concept in each country, or even in the country in each region, which means that the definition of certain actions or initiatives can be determined by that concept itself. So places of worship, if the local authority has the power or not to authorize the building of places of worship, of determining certain infrastructures that already exist as places of worship. So this is something that the local authorities can actually, or in the majority of the cases, because it's a very diverse landscape, as I was telling you, if they can have any authority on this. Then we have the issue on cemeteries. Mostly, as Julia mentioned, we have a strong Christianity as a major religion. Most of the cemeteries and the religious I'm missing the word, sorry.
Traditions.
Exactly, traditions, thank you. The religious traditions related to death are very set in the Christianity values. So there are certain specificities for the minority religions that are not considered, or that we don't see on our day-to-day, but then that the local authorities can have the power to include them in the way that they govern this type of places. So this is another way that local authorities can actually take position in including the diversity, the religious diversity that exists in their landscape. Then we have interreligious dialogue, the support for community initiatives that also is a possibility for local authorities to intervene here in the religious diversity theme or area. The implementation of national inclusion policies. And what we found in all of these 15 countries is that a lot of the local action about religious diversity is very connected with migrant and refugee integration or with intercultural dialogue policies. So we find a lot of initiatives related to intercultural dialogue that are directly linked with religious diversity, but are not specific to religious diversity. So it's like a indirect authority or an indirect action on religious diversity. So this means that we can reflect upon all of these topics and think about why this happens. Why does why do local authorities not have more initiatives on religious diversity? Is it because it's not relevant? Is it because it doesn't bring votes? Is it because discrimination also plays a part here in shaping these types of policy locally? Is it because people that are in these minorities close themselves and don't want to be are assimilated by the majority? Is it a secularism issue? Is it just now that we are thinking about this because it's in because of the migration patterns? It's now an emergent necessity. So this is a reflection that I leave you, but all in all, we have here a lot of room to grow, I think, in what concerns with the role of local authorities within religious diversity. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Alessandro, Julia, and Sofia for sticking to the established time. We've done a little bit like these flights that are a little bit late and then a speed up. So we are on time. We are just precisely at 10:10, when it was supposed that we would start the second round. Before that, and also taking what just Sofia left in her last slide, no, about questions, no, or doubts, to continue the dialogue. I will invite. Tenía que hablar en castellano. Bueno, the translation is okay, no, in Spanish. You hear, because I just followed. Well, so the issue is that if you have questions or doubts, or you want to make a reflection on something, and this is a direct issue for the participants, please do it so through the chat to the host, okay? Because if I think that we are on time, and maybe at the end we can leave some space to answer or to wrap up the issues that you are indicating here, no? As the three of them already mentioned, it is 15 countries that we have done the study at, no? And the participants in this webinar are coming from over 10 countries. So, well, there's quite a good response on that, no? So I would invite you, if you have doubts, questions, or suggestions, please share them through the chat to the host, and we can a little bit try to find a way of dialoguing on that after the second roundtable, okay? Because I think that it's important to listen to the three initiatives that we have identified after the study. I will also mention something about documents and information that you will be able to find in the website of the project, okay, to deepen on the issues that we are addressing today here. But please let me go to the second roundtable with the three initiatives from the three different places, no, in Europe. And we are going to start first of it with Ariadna Solé and Mari Carmen Rodriguez from the Office of Religious Affairs of Barcelona City Council, which is a reference at Spain, and I would say also maybe at a European level on what is being done on religious diversity. No, then we will have Karl Dalbach from Goods House at Fig Satra. I don't know if I said correctly, but it's a town close to Stockholm. And then lately we will have Professor Dr. Wolfgang Reinbold from the Haus der Religionen in Hanover, Germany. The three of them have accepted to participate in this webinar, and I want to thank the four of you for accepting it. No, and they are going to address a little bit the background of the initiative, the main characteristics, a brief description of this initiative, and a reflection on the of the elements of success, or at least the key elements on the functioning of the three initiatives. No, we identified these three initiatives in this analysis that we conducted in the study. Sorry. Because we found that many of the issues that they are doing can be replicated in one way or in another in other local spaces in Europe. No, so the idea will be to listen to these experiences in these three elements that I just mentioned. First, as I said, we are going to go to Barcelona, then to Friskatra, close to Stockholm, and then to Hanover. Okay, so Ariadna, Mari Carmen, you have the floor. They will be speaking in Spanish, so the ones of you that are listening in English, just be aware of the translation. And then Carla and Wolfgang, they will be speaking in English. Thank you again for accepting to participate in this webinar.
Thank you, Wolfgang. Good morning. Nos gustaría compartir la presentación que Ariadna y yo vamos a explicaros brevemente en estos 10 minutos. A ver si la
compartís vosotras o queréis que
Sí,
la
sí,
comparta
Gorka,
yo?
a ver si la
Sí,
tengo preparada, a ver si la
ya
vemos
está.
todos. ¿La podéis ver?
Ahí va.
Sí.
Está, sí,
Ahora
activándose.
la pongo en visualización. Vale.
Perfecto.
Perfecto, gracias. Bueno, pues me presento, aunque Gorka ya lo ha hecho. Yo soy la persona referente del Ayuntamiento de Barcelona de esta oficina, la Oficina de Asuntos Religiosos, y Ariana es la coordinadora de la oficina y de todo el equipo. Bueno, yo haré una pequeña y breve fotografía de esta diversidad no solo cultural que tenemos, sino también religiosa de la ciudad de Barcelona actualmente, para poder entender cómo estamos, dónde estamos y qué necesitamos. Y de ahí surgió en su momento esta oficina y los objetivos y, digamos, el trabajo que está haciendo en la actualidad para poder dar soluciones o, digamos, gestionar, ¿no?, toda esta diversidad que tenemos en la ciudad. Llevamos 20 años, la oficina se creó hace 20 años, pero todo se ha ido actualizando en base a cómo está la sociedad en ese momento. Digamos que estos son un poquito el índice que vamos a presentar para entender un poquito cómo va todo, ya os lo he comentado. Por un lado sería una fotografía de esta diversidad, no solo religiosa, sino también cultural, que va relacionada de alguna manera. Y después Ariadna, que lleva mucho tiempo trabajando en esta oficina, que las siglas serían OAR, para poder hacerlo un poquito más breve, explicar un poquito la evolución, el porqué de esta creación, los objetivos actuales y las tareas que tienen que hacer día a día con las comunidades religiosas de la ciudad. Y si da tiempo, intentaremos explicar algún pequeño proyecto actual que está funcionando en la ciudad. Bueno, pues digamos la fotografía sería esta diapositiva. Aquí tenemos las fuentes que son totalmente oficiales de la administración. Y esto es lo que tenemos a día de hoy, del 2025, en el padrón de la ciudad. Como podéis ver, es muy diversa, cada año es más diversa. Tenemos muchas personas nacidas fuera del Estado, fuera de España. En este caso, más de un 35%, eso es cada vez más, es uno de cada tres, más de uno de cada tres. También tenemos un 26% de personas con nacionalidad extranjera, solo en la ciudad de Barcelona. De todas ellas, de todas las personas fuera de extranjeras, nacidas fuera de España, el 10% tienen nacionalidad española. Tenemos 161 nacionalidades. De todas ellas, bueno, tenemos 137 nacionalidades en centros escolares, que también es una fotografía importante para poder actualizar a estos alumnos de alguna manera, tanto en la escuela, en el idioma, como poder incorporar, ¿no? Esa diversidad cultural y religiosa en los centros. Bueno, tenemos esta cifra del pueblo gitano, hay que tomarla un poco con pinzas, por decirlo de alguna manera. Es orientativa porque no tenemos un censo exacto. Estos datos, estas cifras son del año 2000. Hay muchas más personas de pueblo gitano, pero no las tenemos censadas. Y en la parte religiosa tenemos 37 tradiciones religiosas o espirituales, llamamos confesiones, 135 centros de culto a día de hoy. Tenemos encuestas de la ciudad que hemos realizado y ahí hemos sacado que 52% de las personas que viven en Barcelona se consideran creyentes de alguna de las confesiones religiosas. Tenemos 300 lenguas detectadas y 80 lenguas de uso habitual, aparte del castellano o el catalán en este caso. Bien, como veis, todo esto dentro de una población de 1.700.000 habitantes aproximadamente a día de hoy. Bueno, una pequeña fotografía de lo que es el pluralismo religioso de la ciudad. Como podéis ver, ha habido una evolución de centros de culto establecidos en Barcelona. La mayoría de las veces ha sido una evolución creciente. Sí que es verdad que hubo una pequeña bajada en el 2019, 2020. Pensemos en la pandemia, que seguramente en algún momento tuvo algún efecto, pero se ha ido estabilizando, ha ido evolucionando otra vez y desde el año 2024 tenemos 535 centros de culto en la ciudad, que seguramente irá aumentando. También como fotografía del 2024, porque aún no ha acabado el 2025, con lo cual aún podría variar un poco. Estas serían los centros de culto por confesión. Evidentemente, en España y, como no, en Barcelona también, digamos que la religión mayoritaria a día de hoy sigue siendo la religión católica. Por eso es donde hay más centros de culto, seguidas por las evangélicas, y después ya con bastante diferencia estarían el resto. El Islam sería la siguiente. Bueno, como veis, hay un poco de diversidad. Em, y aquí pues también lo tenemos desde el punto de vista que serían las personas, básicamente, ¿no? Los que se consideran cristianos o bueno, creyentes de alguna de las confesiones, o directamente no creyentes y ateas, que también las tenemos consideradas dentro del pluralismo religioso. Y bueno, ya esta parte, como veis, ha sido muy breve porque sé que vamos justos de tiempo. Esta parte ya la explicará la coordinadora de la oficina de la OAR, que es Ariana Zulé. Ariana, cuando quieras.
Gracias, Mari Carmen. Buenos días a todo el mundo. Bueno, pues la Oficina de Asuntos Religiosos, que digamos es lo que aglutina todo este trabajo que tiene que ver con el pluralismo religioso en el Ayuntamiento de Barcelona, ¿no? Es un modelo particular de la existencia de una oficina que reúne, digamos, todo este trabajo y que funciona como referente de este tema para todo el Ayuntamiento. Eso, ¿no? Hemos cumplido ahora 20 años, con lo cual, bueno, tenemos ya una historia bastante larga, ¿no? Que empezó en los años 90, sobre todo con los Juegos Olímpicos de Barcelona en 1992, que yo creo que fue el momento un poco en que se fue consciente, ¿no? De esta pluralidad religiosa. España venía siendo pues un país tradicionalmente muy católico, digamos. Después también hubo una iniciativa muy importante en 2004, que fue el Parlamento de las Religiones del Mundo, y Cataluña había sido un lugar con mucho movimiento ecuménico dentro del cristianismo, y digamos que este movimiento ecuménico yo creo que entendió que tenía que abrirse a verdaderamente no solo a ser un movimiento ecuménico dentro del cristianismo, sino también a crear diálogo interreligioso más allá en otras confesiones, ¿no? Y también pues el ayuntamiento lo entendió. En 2005 se creó creo que se llamaba entonces CIP, Centro Interreligioso de Barcelona, Y ya en 2008, Oficina de Asuntos Religiosos. Si puedes pasar, Mari Carmen. Bien, y un cambio importante también es que a partir de 2019 el tema del pluralismo religioso pasa a integrarse dentro de las políticas de interculturalidad. Barcelona ya lleva tiempo con este modelo de interculturalidad, ¿no? Que no os explicaré en detalle, pero que quiere superar, digamos, tanto el modelo asimilacionista como el modelo multicultural, ¿no? Basándose un poco en tres patas, ¿no? Que son los que tienen que ver con los derechos, lo que tiene que ver con el reconocimiento simbólico, pero también el conocimiento, y una tercera pata que tiene que ver con el diálogo y la participación política. Y bueno, este es el segundo plan Barcelona Interculturalidad, bajo el paraguas del cual estamos actualmente trabajando. Vale, podemos pasar. Somos un equipo de 6 personas. Si alguien después quiere más detalles, os los podemos dar. Podemos seguir. Bien, y ligado un poco a estos objetivos que hablábamos de esta política de interculturalidad, ¿no? Nuestros objetivos tienen que ver con garantizar el derecho a la libertad religiosa y de conciencia de la ciudadanía, tienen que ver con facilitar el reconocimiento y el conocimiento de esta pluralidad religiosa. Una cosa importante que he de decir es que la OAR publica datos anuales sobre centros de culto, es decir, que básicamente, y sobre comunidades religiosas, es decir, que mucha parte de nuestro trabajo se basa en el conocimiento de la realidad religiosa de la ciudad, ¿no? Eso también es una tarea muy importante y la base para poder realizar el resto de tareas que hacemos. Y después el tercer objetivo tiene que ver con esto, generar estos espacios de participación, más participación política, pero también diálogo, interacción entre la ciudadanía, etcétera, ¿no? Y trabajamos tanto, los destinatarios de la oficina son tanto las mismas comunidades religiosas como dentro del Ayuntamiento de Barcelona como referente, pero también con la ciudadanía, con actividades educativas, actividades culturales, etcétera. Vale. Bueno, solo para que veáis un poco el número de intervenciones que realizamos, ¿no? Tanto pues, asesoramientos a comunidades, lo que hemos dicho, actividades culturales, etcétera. Últimamente, pues bueno, el año pasado fueron 1.621 actuaciones, pero también la gráfica nos permite ver, ¿no? cómo ha ido creciendo, digamos, este número de intervenciones desde los últimos años, ¿no? La oficina ha ido, bueno, trabajando cada vez más. Podemos pasar. Y nos pedíais, Borja, un poco claves del éxito, ¿no? Y yo creo que, bueno, hemos podido entender, hemos podido pensar algunas, ¿no? Una de ellas, ya lo he mencionado, es este, digamos, conocimiento de la realidad, ¿no? Y tener un poco un equipo, pues, que sea experto, digamos, en pluralidad religiosa, que conozca las diferentes tradiciones, que conozca el marco legal, etcétera. También tener un canal de comunicación directo con las comunidades. Esto creo que es clave, ¿no? Tenemos dos personas técnicas que son los referentes, una para comunidades cristianas y otra para el resto de comunidades. Y por decirlo en palabras simples, las comunidades religiosas tienen un teléfono al que llamar para relacionarse con la administración, ¿no? Que eso no siempre es fácil y es muy útil en algunos momentos. También la integración dentro de esta política intercultural, ¿no? Con una mirada transversal, es decir, entender que el tema del pluralismo religioso afecta a todos los ámbitos de la vida, ¿no? Afecta desde la educación al urbanismo, a muchísimas cuestiones, y también con una mirada territorial, porque Barcelona al final es grande y cada distrito de Barcelona tiene su singularidad. Y finalmente este enfoque cultural, ¿no? Ir más allá simplemente de los derechos. Los derechos obviamente son la base, son importantísimos, pero también entender que la pluralidad religiosa es parte de la riqueza cultural de la ciudad, que tiene un valor, ¿no? Y por lo tanto, pues a reivindicar este valor. Por ejemplo, hemos hecho ahora una serie de, los últimos años, una serie de actividades para reivindicar el pasado islámico de la ciudad, ¿no? De la época medieval, etcétera. Bueno, dar valor, digamos, a esta pluralidad religiosa. No quiero extenderme en los proyectos porque creo que ya nos hemos pasado de tiempo, pero bueno, si quieres pasar un poco, tienen que ver pues, con el asesoramiento a centros de culto, ¿no? Que ha habido algún conflicto, tienen que ver, bueno, tenemos estos folletos para dar a conocer las festividades. Tenemos actividades educativas, que creo que es la siguiente diapositiva, y actos públicos que a veces pues, han sido importantes, ¿no? Actos religiosos, por ejemplo, como el que se hizo después de los atentados que hubo en 2017 en Barcelona. Y, por ejemplo, para celebrar, ¿no? Pues los 500 años de la Reforma Protestante, cuando hay así fechas, digamos, efemérides importantes, o los 50 años de la apertura de la primera mezquita contemporánea, ¿no? Y estos son ejemplos también de otras actividades culturales. Muchas gracias, yo creo que lo dejamos aquí. Bueno, proyectos transversales, también se habló de cementerios antes, ¿no? Bueno, también intentar garantizar el derecho en este aspecto, y ahora sí, muchas gracias y aquí lo dejamos.
Muchas gracias, Ariadna y Mari Carmen. Entonces ahora vamos a dar paso. We're going to give the floor now. We're going up north to Sweden. And now is your turn, Carl, when you wish. Thank you.
Good morning, and thank you for inviting me to participate in this webinar. I have a question for you, Gorka. I sent you a selection of slides. Do you have them, or should I try to find them in my computer?
I have them here. If you want, I can share them. No problem.
Yeah, you can take show the first picture.
Okay. Well, let me 1 second. I'm open it. Epa. Okay. Jesús, no los tengo activado para compartir. I don't have the permission. I can talk, but I cannot share.
Ya puedes, Gorka.
Ya está. Muchas gracias. Okay. Now, can you see it? Are you seeing the presentation?
Yes,
Sí, sí, sí.
Okay.
Okay.
Perfect. Carl, when you wish.
Okay, you can show the second picture. So God's House is a collaboration in Fisksätra. Fisksätra is a small suburb outside the capital of Stockholm. So here you can see some of the people that have participated through the years. You can take next slides. We have 3 partnership members, and it's Church of Sweden in Nacka, and me myself are a reverend and vicar in the Church of Sweden Nacka parish, one of the leaders in Team God's House. We also have a Muslim association in Nacka, and the Catholic Diocese of Stockholm, that is the partnership. Next slide, please. And Fisksätra, as I told you, it's a suburb outside the capital city of Stockholm, about 8,000 inhabitants from 100 different countries, speak 80 languages. We talk about 40% Muslims, 40% Christians or background tradition, and 20% others, you can say non-believers. And this was built in the 70s, typical suburb, as you can see in Sweden in many places. But it's very beautiful surroundings with a connection to the archipelago and the sea, as you see in the picture also. We can take the next picture. In the beginnings, there were good relations between Christian and Muslims. There were no struggles, no fighting. But the school asked for help for their education in the religious feast. So priest and the imam came together and talked both of the Muslim and the Christian feast, and developed two good relations. So at the Pentecost 2003, there was a worship at the football pitch in Fisksätra, a neutral place. And it was very special. It was recitation from the Quran, from the Bible, and prayers. And this inspired many people to meet again. And that was the birthday, as we say, of our organized interfaith relations. So after that, there was a lot of dialogue sessions, both in the church and in the mosque. During that time, the relation between Church of Sweden and the Catholic parish started. So since 2003, the Catholic has their service in the church hall in our church. So Catholic has service 11 o'clock in the Sundays, and we have at 5 o'clock in the afternoon in the same church hall in Nacka. In Fisätra Church, which is owned by Nacka Parish. We can take the next picture. So after a couple of years, there was initiative from Stockholm City Mission to start social work. So we had that together with the Stockholm City Mission many years, from 2008 to 2020. It was about language training and different kind of individual counseling, juridical help with the authorities, economic counseling, and so on. After Stockholm City Mission left the cooperation, we have continued without them, but we do still going on with this counseling center. So that also raised an idea. You can take next picture. About develop the collaboration even more, because Nacka Parish, you can see on the left side of the church of this picture, you can see a church with a cross. This is the Fisätra church that stands there today. So this is our church that we have a lot of the activities. And Nacka Parish owned the land next to the church, so idea came up that we can sell the land to the Muslims so they can build the mosque next to the church, side by side. So this is a model of what we are visualizing when we talk about God's house in a physical meaning. We talk about God's house today in a more spiritual meaning, that about our collaboration and the relations between us. But this idea of collaboration was getting material when this idea arose, and we started a project 2009. We signed a value document 2010, and we started a friend association 2012 that today have all the dialogue cafe lectures and dialogue sessions in the church and in the mosque. From 2015, we started a fundraising to finance these two buildings, because it's actually two buildings. It's the mosque, but it's also a middle part between the mosque and the church that will connect the two buildings together. So in 10 years, we now have this fundraising going on. You can take the next picture. So what we do, we have this social work, as I told you before. We have culture festival last week, and we have a wonderful culture festival with guests from UK, national guests and local guests that participated. In this picture, we see a wonderful culture and sing and dance group from Jordan that participated for a couple of years ago. We have lectures, dialogues, and so on. We have peace prayers, at least 2 peace prayers every year. We have one in the Pentecost, when we always invite the Jews. People ask us why are not the Jews included in the work, and the simple answer is that there are no Jewish denomination or association in Fisätra. But for us, it's very important to cooperate with them as much as possible. So every peace prayer in the Pentecost, they participate with recitation from the Hebrew Bible. And also imams participate with recitation of the Quran, and Christians participate with the recitation from the New Testament. But most important is that we share prayers for peace in the world, and let us start in Fisätra, where we have our most important responsibility. And this prayer is held in 8-10 different languages that are spoken in Fisätra today. We have feasts, study visits. We have a lot of network. House of One in Berlin, network for dialogue, Kaisid, connected to Kaisid. We have with Henry Martin Institute, HMI in Hyderabad, India, World of Neighbors, Houses of Religion, and so on. So we can take next picture. Yeah, I think we are a meeting place across the diversity of borders. We have workspace for integration and inclusiveness, community of faith and trust in Fisätra, and we think we are a pathway to peace, a glimpse of the future. All right, next picture. We have some fundamental premises. We don't have the truth, we are searching it. It's very important for us to get away from this we and them thinking we are right, you are wrong, so we search the truth together. We are children of Abraham. It means that we have very much in common with the Jews and the Muslims. It talks about oneness, but it also talks about particularities, that we are different and we should remain different in the religions. We are rooted and respectful. That means that we must know a lot about our own tradition and belief to have the courage to meet the other. So that's important stand also. One of the devices is where people meet. We want the people to meet from different kind of borders. So we can go from conflict to tolerance, go from tolerance to respect, and from respect to trust, because trust is the deepest ground where we can understand and meet what separates us and try to understand what separates us. Diversity is complicated but more fun. We notice that sometimes we have our culture festival that it's some critical meanings about what are happening, and of course diversity demands mature individuals, mature organizations, mature religions, and we think that's more fun to get inspired. I think we stop there because I don't have so much time. One of the key factors to success, if you can talk about that, you can say it's about the relevance in the society of Fisätra. We started this social work together, and also in the beginning it was good relations between Christians and Muslims. But when City Mission came cooperate with us, the volume of the cooperation was very much bigger than in the beginning, and that has also meant that people in Fisätra knows that we are cooperating for the best of the habitants in Fisätra. So it talks about relevance, and I also think that timing is one success key factor. That there was right religious leaders in the beginning of this cooperation that could see the possibilities that this collaboration could give. And one third key factor is, I must say, Church of Sweden, because Church of Sweden has big resources, both nearly economical resources, but also when it comes to administration and employees that could organize a lot of these activities. Yeah, maybe I stop there, and maybe you have a lot of questions after this, but it could be possible to maybe answer some of them in the end. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Carl, for your presentation and also for sticking to the time. I think we will have some time for questions or comments later. So now we go a little bit south to Germany, to Hanover. So please, Wolfgang, when you wish, you have the floor. Thank you again for participating in the webinar.
Yeah, thank you, Gorka, and dear colleagues. I'll give you a short impression of what we do in the House of Religions in Hanover and share my presentation. go. So, is everything working fine?
Yes,
Fine.
we can see it.
So
Yes.
we are the House of Religions in Hanover Center for Interreligious and Intercultural Education. And there are at the moment 9 communities in the house. We started with Christians, Jews, Muslims, Hindu, Buddhists, and Baha'i. And we did this for about 15 to 20 years, starting from the early 90s.
Sorry,
And
I cannot see the slides moving. We are only seeing the first one.
Sí, dile,
Okay.
dile que tiene que en la,
You
en la
have
parte de
to
abajo
click
darle
in the
a forma de presentación para poder seguir pasando las diapositivas, por favor. Este icono que tiene al lado del menos.
you have to click below on the right side the icon to share the presentation.
To put it in presentation mode in the PowerPoint file.
We could see the PowerPoint, but the thing is that when you were passing the slides, we were not able to see them.
Okay. So how do we solve this?
If you open the PowerPoint again, and then you put it in presentation mode.
Yeah.
And then you should be able then to share it as well.
I have no idea what to do.
Just what you did before. and then we tell you next step if you wish. I mean, you have down below the icon to share, which is a folder with an arrow, an upward arrow, sorry. And once you click there, you will just click on the PowerPoint itself.
So it has always been working in Zoom. You see the first slide now, but you don't see the second, correct?
No, we don't see right now. We don't see any at all. We're just
Any at all.
No.
So I think we do not waste time. I'll just leave it out and speak.
But you can, if you want to send it by email, I can try to.
Yeah, it makes no sense, I think, because we're wasting time with technical problems that I'm not able to solve at the moment, I think. So we started with 6 communities and Christians, Muslim, Jews, Hindu, Buddhists, and Baha'i in the early 90s. And then now we have also the Yazidi, which are very important, especially in the county of Niedersachsen and the town of Hanover, and the Alevi tradition. And for about 20 years, we also have the humanists, so the people who have no faith, or they are not sure, agnostic and so on. So we're 9 groups now. And we started in the early 90s, and you probably know that Germany used to be a country, and you were either Protestant or Catholic. There was really nothing else until 1970, 1980, and this has changed drastically in the last 4 decades. So now we have the whole religious diversity as we have in the House of Religions. And this has changed, in 4 decades. And the first people in Hanover met in the early 90s when it started to change, and you could see new houses being built. We've had the first Hindu temple. We have the biggest Buddhist pagoda in I think in Europe, at least in Germany, we have it in Hanover. We have 3 synagogues now, more than 20 mosques. 2 Hindu temples at the moment, 6 Buddhist centers, 2 Alawi centers, a Baha'i, and so on. So, and our basic concern is to have interreligious competence and education, especially for the school classes and the teachers who have not been, if they are older, let's say my age, they have not been trained because the situation was completely different. So we are not well prepared for that situation in Germany, and that's what we're trying to do. So our main group are school classes and teachers and all sorts of multiplicators that have to do with this topic. And now we can see at the moment it is almost every group in the society. When we started in the early 90s, it was sort of an avant-garde thing. Yeah, we would say this is going to be like this in maybe 20 or 30 years, but now everybody can see it because it has changed a lot. So we are very lucky we started in the early 90s. And the history of the house has been informal for 15 years. So we started around 1990. And then 2005, we started the House of Religions from the informal beginnings. So we found a structure, we found a house, and we started in the house. And it was, as far as we know, the first House of Religions in Europe then. So we just had our 20th anniversary. Now you can see in Europe, we have the big House of Religions in Bern, which actually is our sister project, and it's the biggest house in Europe at the moment. And they started in 2014, so 10 years ago. And you have some cities who are moving in that direction. Berlin was mentioned, that they're still building or trying to build. It's a very complicated thing because they need a lot of money for the things they want to do there. So we have been doing this for 20 years in a modest house that used to be a church until 2013, and then was sold and changed completely. And it has been transformed from us in 2022. So the time of improvisation is over after about 30 years of improvising with the groups, and now we have a very, very impressive basic exhibition where the 9 groups they had the difficult task to present themselves to people on 2.5 square meters in the cubit. And that's what they did for 3 years. And we have a very impressive basic exhibition, which is, as far as we know, the only one in this style in Europe. And I would have liked to show you the videos. We made a very short video, so you have 2 people in each room, and you can sort of meet. And we have a very nice video, but I can send it to you afterwards. It's also on the internet, so everyone who's interested can have a look at the 18 persons. We have 9 women, 9 men, who is sort of taking you into their tradition and the feeling, and what is important for them in their own religion. We also started, which is, I think, interesting to many of you in this context, we started a national congress 8 years ago. We have the so-called Council of Religions in Hanover, where the religious groups meet, who are willing to do so. And we found that many other cities have developed comparable structures. So we talked with the colleagues in the Council of Religions in Frankfurt, and we founded the so-called Federal Congress of Councils of Religions. And at the moment, we have about 80 cities in the network, and we meet once a year. Just 2 weeks ago, we met for 2 days, coming together in the cities, and we tried to develop this from an informal structure, which it is now, to a formal structure, which we need. Our point is we need good interreligious structures in Germany because the country is multi-religious now, and we don't have them because the country used to be Christian and almost nothing else. So we need to do this, and So we're very happy that we have this political support in Hanover for more than 20 years. The mayor of Hanover actually is patron of the house, now in the fourth generation. And the reopening of the very new building, so we have 730 square meters at the moment for our work with the school classes and so on. It was reopened by the federal president who came, which is a big honor for everybody who has been working there for about 30 years. So what do we do? It's close to what Carl already said. The basic thing is interreligious education, as I said, further education for teachers, educators, scholars of religion. We do public lectures, discussions, seminars, encounters, exhibitions. We organize sometimes visit in mosques, synagogues, temples, and so on. And we do a lot of cooperation and advice. It has become like everybody who wants to do something that has to do with religions, he phones us because he knows we know about it, or we have connections who know. So the city council calls us, or the mayor calls us, and they have a partner to deal with this very complicated issue. The question was put up a couple of minutes ago. Why is this so? And I think one of the reasons why the cities have, or the communal structures have problems with this topic is so complicated. And then people tend to say, oh, religions, no. So what should we do? Should we invite the churches as we used to do? This is not a good solution. But what about the mosques? Oh, it's complicated. And what about the Hindu? We don't have any context. So the Council of Religions and the House of Religions makes this possible because they know they integrate us, make us as a partner, and we do we do the rest, or do the things. Just one example. 2 days ago on Saturday, we had the Day of the Cemeteries, and it starts with an interreligious ceremony, and this is done by the Council of Religions. And the city is very glad they have it because they integrate all the people and not just the Christians. So this is, we think, a big advantage for a city, and of course also for the country as a whole. Last thing I want to mention, we do an interreligious calendar, which we do in print, but we have also developed an app, and is completely, you can have an ICS data. I have it on my computer. You can have a widget for your homepage, and we've done this with the best religious, the best internet website on religion that exists in the German-speaking, I would say, in all of Europe, and it's called religionen-entdecken.de, and it's a huge website, and they have questions from children, more than 6,500 questions from children, and they are answered by an interreligious team. And they made this very impressive calendar, and also an app called Holy Days with double Y, not like, you know, the correct spelling, but Holy Days with double Y. There's an app for your smartphone, and you have thousands of informations about all the religions and all the feasts on the calendars and so on. So this is a huge, to us, a huge a treasury that we want to develop further. So far for the moment, without the PowerPoint, I'm sorry.
Thank you very much, Wolfgang. Well, thank you, the four of you, for sticking to the time, because that left us some minutes. Now, maybe to start a very open debate, because we would invite that for the future, because we have more activities, more webinars at national level, seminars in site and also online, no? But yeah, there were like 3 questions or 3 elements that I would like to share with all of you, because I think that the 6 presentations have been very complementary, very illustrative, no, about what the project is about. So thank you all of you, and thank you, Wolfgang, for sharing the link of the house, and if you want to share the documents that you also present today here, we can also see the possibility of doing so in the website. But well, what I was going to say, there are there are 4 comments questions. One of them, as the colleague from Pretoria, I think, he just shared a link about information, but there are 3 other precise questions that that I'm going to share with you, and if you want to answer them now, or we can answer in another way, no? The first of them, and I think is very much linked to the other 2, is if somebody asks about that he or she would like to know about keys for managing interreligious diversity from an horizontality, and how this management promote equality and not just some performative inclusion. I think some of the elements that you just shared in the second roundtable go in this direction, no? But I would say the 3 questions, and then whoever wants to react from the 2 roundtables, you are free to do, no? So the first one is keys for managing interreligious diversity horizontally. The second one is about how to identify the role of religion in current society, no? Because historically religions have a social function, and it has been addressed in this second table, no? In the second round table, no? But well, she asked about how can the role of religion be identified in the current society. And the third one is a very concrete and precise question, and is, if it would be possible, me gustaría saber cuál es el presupuesto, which is the annual budget of the Office of the Religion of Barcelona, and if this budget is only of the city council, or if the Spanish government or other institutions put some money in it, and which is the language of work of the office. Well, these are the 3 questions that has been shared by the participants. If any of you want to react to that, I don't know if the last question that is very concrete, la última pregunta, Ariadna o Mari Carmen, el presupuesto, o de quién depende el presupuesto de la oficina.
Bueno, el presupuesto depende del Ayuntamiento de Barcelona, evidentemente, y porque es digamos, el paraguas. La oficina depende del ayuntamiento, aunque es un servicio que está externalizado. Por ejemplo, en este caso, yo como técnica del ayuntamiento es quien es la referente, quien coordina al equipo, que al final lo coordina Ariadna, pero ella es la coordinadora del equipo en sí, y nosotros como ayuntamiento coordinamos un poco las estrategias, al final damos el ok final o proponemos alternativas para el programa. Es un tema de dinero público. Es el Ayuntamiento de Barcelona, cada año pues tiene una partida concreta para este servicio, como otros servicios que hay también para el Ayuntamiento. Y solamente es para la ciudad de Barcelona, que creo que era otra de las preguntas. El servicio es únicamente para la ciudad de Barcelona, ni área metropolitana ni otras localidades de la provincia. Por aquí hay alguien también, creo que es de la DEGAR, que es de la oficina de lo que es toda Cataluña, ¿no? En este caso. Pero nosotros como AR es únicamente en la ciudad de Barcelona. No sé si hay Ana como quiere ampliar o añadir algo
No,
más.
simplemente que ahora creo que no tengo en mente cuál es el presupuesto anual, así que
No,
bueno, igual
tendría que mirarlo.
lo podemos buscar, pero básicamente el coste de la oficina es el equipo, digamos, de 6 personas y algún coste también que tiene que ver con las actividades estas culturales de las que hablábamos antes, ¿no? Lo podemos mirar y quizá lo podemos compartir, pero ahora mismo no tengo la cifra.
Yo tampoco, tendría que mirar el contrato.
Exacto.
Bueno, no sé si alguien quiere reaccionar más a las preguntas, los comentarios. También en el chat han compartido información sobre, bueno, la pregunta que justo acaban de hacer referencia a Mari Carmen y Ariadna, la Casa delle Religioni en Turín, como otra de las iniciativas que también van en la misma línea, ¿no? Bueno, como veis, bueno, hay diferentes modelos. Unos son los más oficiales, el que apoyan los propios municipios, los ayuntamientos. Otros los que vienen un poco más desde la base, ¿no? Que pueden ser el caso de Suecia y de Alemania, ¿no? Los dos ejemplos que se han presentado en el webinar, ¿no? Porque preguntan un poco sobre ello. Yo quizás por no alargarnos más, porque además sí que quería hacer un par de comentarios e informaciones finales, ¿no? En primer lugar,
Gorka,
que
perdona,
en el...
¿me disculpas
Sí,
un segundito? Porque hay una cosa, yo creo,
sí,
de presupuesto que tiene que ver con lo que has dicho, que creo que sí que es interesante, que es que además de la oficina como tal, el ayuntamiento también da algunas subvenciones a las comunidades religiosas para
Sí.
obras de centros de culto y para actividades, que esto es el apoyo, digamos, a las comunidades que da el propio ayuntamiento, que eso, bueno, quizá no
Sí,
habíamos pensado en ello.
es verdad, es un servicio extra que
Lo,
no
lo
tiene que ver con
dejo,
la OAR.
lo dejo aquí.
Sí.
perfecto. Bueno, como decía, hay un cuestionario en el chat para que por favor os animamos, lo rellenéis y nos podáis hacer una valoración de lo que ha sido el webinar, sobre todo de cara a siguientes eventos, porque vamos a continuar realizando actividades, webinars, seminarios nacionales, vamos a colgar también documentación, resultados del estudio en la página web del proyecto. Os animemos a que la visitéis, a que sigáis activas bueno, pues en las diferentes informaciones y actividades que estamos organizando desde el proyecto, porque bueno, precisamente de lo que va este proyecto es de poner en la agenda europea la gobernanza local de la diversidad religiosa, ¿no? Y bueno, pues en esa línea es en la que va el propio proyecto, los resultados y la documentación que vamos a colgar. Sí que también quiero hacer mención bueno, a personas y entidades que están presentes aquí, lo han indicado Ariadna y Mari Carmen, ¿no? Hay representantes de gobiernos locales, de la red de Municipios por la Tolerancia, un proyecto que se impulsa desde la Fundación Pluralismo y Convivencia. También está el subdirector de Libertad Religiosa del Ministerio de la Presidencia del Estado Español. Entonces, bueno, hay una combinación desde el mundo de la academia, de la sociedad civil, confesiones, poderes públicos, lo cual, bueno, yo creo que es de agradecer el que os hayáis animado a participar en este webinar, invitaros a próximas actividades. Os podéis apuntar a la newsletter del proyecto o visitar la propia página web, ¿no? Y quizás adelantar eso. Va a haber seminarios a nivel nacional, va a haber webinars también como este a lo largo del próximo año y medio. El año que viene, de hecho, está previsto un encuentro, una reunión con responsables de libertad religiosa de toda Europa en el marco del proyecto, que, bueno, pues con el objetivo que decía al principio del propio proyecto, ¿no? Ahondar en la agenda europea de la gobernanza local de la diversidad religiosa, ¿no? Yo creo que Carl ha mencionado, ¿no? La diversidad como algo complejo pero divertido, ¿no? Bueno, pues sería bueno que todos y todas lo viéramos un poco en esa clave, ¿no? Eh, en los que estamos aquí y los que están fuera del seminario. Y bueno, yo creo que ahí se están colgando en el chat más informaciones de un próximo seminario que se va a realizar en Portugal próximamente. Y yo creo que sin más, y para ceñirnos un poco al tiempo, habíamos establecido entre las 9:30 a las 11, son las 11:05, hemos empezado un poquito más tarde, pues vamos a dar por finalizado el webinar, agradecer la participación, la presencia y bueno, que quedamos aquí abiertos pues para sugerencias, para compartir información, documentación, etcétera. Especialmente quiero agradecer a Ariana, Mari Carmen, Wolfgang, Carl, Julia, Alessandro y Sofía, y en especial a David, que estaba detrás de la traducción. Espero que no le hayamos torturado mucho. Y bueno, pues muchas gracias y nos vemos en otra ocasión.
Muchas gracias. Recordar, por favor, que rellenen un cuestionario de evaluación del evento que nos permitirá mejorar. Está en el enlace en el chat y, no obstante, se lo mandaremos también por correo.
Eso es muy importante para poder seguir mejorando. Well, thank you very much. Danke, tak, grazie mille, obrigado.
Gorka, I
Yes,
just
Wolfgang,
send
yes.
you the PDF. So if you want, you can put it in the chat so everybody has the PDF of my presentation if you want to. Thank you.
Okay. I'll do it now.
You can
because
also send my PowerPoint presentation if anyone wants to see it.
I haven't received it yet, so if you think it's okay, maybe we can upload it in the website if we can find a place technically, and otherwise we can send to the participants if it's okay with all of you. Yeah, I will just send you an email after the webinar just to confirm this, and we can share the documents. Okay. Well, thank you very much, and see you soon.
Eskerrik asko. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ay, agur.
Everyone.